Deborah, thank you, everyone here at Nope. This is an historic moment. We are 33 days out from this election. And I just want to share from a Wisconsin perspective how big a deal this election is, and then why I think that your dollars and your time, your volunteer efforts, especially your contributions, I'll mention that again, can go so much further in this fight, in this moment, than almost any other situation I can imagine. Supreme Court races in Wisconsin are this unusual type of election where there's no candidate's party next to their name on the ballot. The candidates are essentially unknown until the campaigns get going. So people don't know who they are unless you actually run a campaign to inform people. Turnout is much lower than November elections. Maybe half the number of people vote in the spring in a high turnout year than in the fall. And what all that means is that in these races, when you call someone, when our volunteers call someone, or knock on their door, send them a text message, when someone sees an ad on their television or on their phone, that might be the first thing that they've heard about this race. You take people who have strong beliefs, strong progressive Democrats who think that abortion should be an issue of personal freedom rather than an authoritarian monstrosity where doctors are being thrown in jail. You take a strong Democrat who believes in democracy, and they don't know who the candidates are or what the issues are. But when you call them, when our volunteers knock on their door, they explain it, and they go from non-voter to voter. The number of votes per hour that you generate as a volunteer in this race is vastly higher than in a regular election. TV ads, we had David Nickerson, who was Obama's experiments director, did an analysis that found that TV ads in this race are 10 times as effective. 10 times as cost effective. The number of dollars it takes to get an extra vote, it's 1/10 the number in this election as you normally have in a November election, like the governor's race last fall. In this moment, money goes further. And the stakes for victory are just as high, if not higher. Because in this election, we will not only determine the future of personal freedom, we will also determine whether the state Supreme Court is an engine of authoritarianism or a vehicle for the rule of law and constitutional fairness and equality in the state of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is the tipping point state for the country. 4 out of the last 6 presidential elections came down to less than 1 percentage point in our state. Our Senate race, we lost by 1 percentage point last year. In 2024, Republicans are making Wisconsin the center of their strategy. They've put the National Republican Convention in Milwaukee. They've decided to host the first GOP presidential primary debate in Wisconsin. The next RNC meeting is in Wisconsin because they know they cannot get to the White House unless they flip this incredibly tough to win, critical must-win state. It's all happening here. And when we looked at what happened in 2022 in the Senate race, when we looked at what the Republicans said happened, it was clear that Republicans believe, and we can see it in the numbers, that the places where we lost turnout were places where Republican voter suppression schemes and Republican Supreme Court rulings pushed down the vote. Our state Supreme Court ruled in a 4-3 Republican decision to ban drop boxes. It ruled to bar anyone from returning even a relative's absentee ballot. Those rulings hurt most in the places where there were more people per clerk's office, specifically the county of Milwaukee, where we saw turnout drop. Republicans have engineered voting laws to make Wisconsin 47th out of 50, one of the hardest states in the country to cast a ballot. We are the second hardest state in the country to register to vote. These are all Republican laws upheld by Republicans on our state Supreme Court. All of these will be in effect in 2024 if Republicans win this Supreme Court race. And it gets worse than that because we saw in 2020, Donald Trump challenged in many, many states the election result, but in Wisconsin, he came closest to overturning the election. He came within 1 vote on our state Supreme Court. And if you don't want to be waiting until the wee hours of the night, on the night of the electoral college certification after the 2024 election, you want to win this Supreme Court race now. But if we do win, and if we elect Janet Protasiewicz, then we open the door to ending the attacks on voting rights from the Supreme Court, to ending our extreme gerrymander, where Republicans are close to supermajorities in our state legislature, despite losing 80% of the last 17 statewide elections. We open the door to Wisconsin becoming a democracy. And in a democracy, Democrats can win. In this state, we know that we can win. So it's all on the line. And I will tell you, Voces de la Frontera is a spectacular organization. They do amazing relational organizing work with Latinos across Wisconsin, the fastest growing demographic group in our state. You'll hear more from Christina. I'm so excited about the work that they're doing and your support for it. And at the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, we have been building for 7 years a neighborhood team-based grassroots organizing program that's already knocked on 71,000 doors in February in Wisconsin, often in sub-zero temperatures. This is hard work in Wisconsin in this moment. If you've ever been in our state, if you've seen the snow on the ground, but people are so fired up. The warmth in a Wisconsin winter election comes from within, and people are feeling that fire and that heat. We're going to knock on hundreds of thousands of doors before the end of this primary period with your financial support. It costs money to hire the organizers, and the organizers work with neighborhood team leaders, and the neighborhood team leaders recruit volunteers to go out on the doors. This coming weekend, we have 77 simultaneous statewide canvases across the state of Wisconsin going out, and that number will ratchet up every weekend until the polls close. This is go time. If this were a fall election, we would be in October right now. 33 days to go. The finish line is within sight. Our side is more fired up than theirs. We can win this thing if we give it everything we've got. So I want to thank you so much for your contributions. I want to thank you for your work. I want to encourage people to volunteer, and I'm so thrilled to hand it back. Nope organizers, I know that we have another very special guest who's here as well. So I want to turn it back over to you with tremendous gratitude for everybody's support.